part 2. Anyway, because I'm desperate to cook, and contrary to the city being on lockdown, we start inviting some of these people to Tuesday lunches. Megan Damerai is basically hugging the wall. She hasn't left her apartment in 3 months. Ever the Spitfire, Cat Tim shows up multiple weeks. July 7th, 2020. Harper's publishes a letter on justice and open debate, critiquing liberalism and the growing intolerance of open debate, and signed by 153 writers and authors. Immediately and predictably, a counter letter appears, claiming the Harper signatories failed to recognize the perspectives of the marginalized and lauding cancel culture as a way to finally hold people in power accountable. July 14th, 2020. Barry Weiss and Andrew Sullivan announced they are, respectively, leaving the Times and New York Magazine. Everyone is scrambling for a lifeboat, but first you have to build the lifeboat. Conversations ensue about whether to band together or to satellite off. We mentioned several Paloma investors to Barry. She compares one to a cheap suit salesman. She is looking to build a bigger landing pad, to build an empire. July 19th, 2020. Nancy, what the fuck is going on in Portland? This is Tablet Magazine's Jake Siegel, whom we've invited to Matt's front yard to pitch Paloma, but who wants to talk about my former city, where there have been violent demonstrations 50 nights running, and from whence the reporting makes no sense. Video protesters launching IEDs and setting fire to the police station presented as so much, no, never mind. You have to go, says Matt. I'm on the plane the next morning. For what will turn out to be 5 months, I report what I see and what people tell me, reporting that erodes the "savages coming to your town" and "peaceful protesters only" messaging the public sees on their news feeds. The fear that comes with COVID sequestration and civil unrest is giving way to people's sense that they are being manipulated. They are turning to sources they sense are telling them the truth. The Fifth Column is doing so double time. Voices of Reason during the lockdowns, which inspires supercharged parasocial relationships with fans who send hundreds of emails and letters that say, "Thank you for making me feel less crazy. Thank you for not bullshitting me." Some of these fans send gifts, premium booze and handmade pens and a poster signed by Andrew Cuomo and a life-size painting of Melania Trump clad in gold necklaces and not much else. August 2020. Matt and I have lunch with his old friend, Gawker founder Nick Denton, who knows a few things about empire building. We chat out about Paloma. Maybe it's a publication, maybe a consortium of podcasts, definitely a signal booster to voices we trust. Maybe, Denton says, Paloma is actually a salon, a scene rather than a site, a place where people don't have to worry about getting personally or professionally dinged for a free speech violation. Fall 2020. The Fifth Column loses their recording studio and moves production into my living room. First guest, Ben Dreyfuss, who lets me feed him cake and leaves behind his chewed-up vape pen. The 2-room apartment adjacent to mine opens up. Matt ponies up the extra $300 a month rent. I build a sound studio in my nightgown, stapling foam baffling to the walls, hanging lights. It's hot as fuck, and the guys sweat their balls off recording until we get an AC. No matter. Everyone squeezes in and hangs out afterwards to eat pie and drink Manhattans and listen to whatever we tell Google to play. Dylan and Big Star, Wilco and the Replacements, the Bee Gees and Glenn Campbell, and Springsteen's The River. Christmas 2020. We start a Paloma bank account and seed it with $5,000. We start a YouTube channel. Our tech skills are spectacularly bad. People tuning in to News of the Week broadcasts to see how long it takes Matt and me to stop fumbling with the mics. January 2021. More heads roll at the New York Times. Science reporter Donald McNeil Jr. for repeating the N-word to a bunch of teenagers during a Times-sponsored field trip to Peru. The Daily creator Andy Mills for behaving caddishly before he was an employee at the paper. Both of these forced resignations seem to me clearly about colleagues gunning for status, maybe the position of those they've defenestrated. I podcast about these and other media meltdowns with Bacha Ungar Sargon, then at Newsweek, with Reasons to Leave Liz Wolfe, with Bridget Fedesi. Scores of people cycle through the apartment and studio, leaving things behind, a sweatshirt, their earbuds, Moynihan's insulin pens, and also building things. Yal Bartour and Hayalea Sufrin sit in the living room and bat around the idea for a new podcast, but they couldn't call it Ask a Jew, could they? Oh, they absolutely must call it Ask a Jew. January to November 2021. The Fifth Column is full bore. They invite everyone on, and everyone shows. Steve Kornacki and Mike Pesca, Olivia Nuzzi and Josh Zepps, Mary Catherine Hammond, Eli Lake, and Tina Wen. After talking about his new book on the rise and fall of digital media 1.0. Ben Smith lets me feed him pastry and take some home for his in-laws. Jesse Single and John Ronson stay for lunch. Hamish McKenzie, a founder of Substack, uses the studio to tape a series of interviews, including with Alison Roman, to whom I feed pie. We drink whiskey into the wee hours with Douglas Murray, and in October, Kat Rosenfield asks if Paloma will throw her a book party. 70 people cram into the apartment. We live stream YouTube in the studio, where Jesse Single talks to an audience of who knows who. December 21 to December 2022. We launched a Paloma Media website. Why not? Because why not? It's small scale, and just about everyone we ask to write for us does. Armin Rosen about New York. Alex Brooklyn about her gangster father. Michael Scott Moore about his 977 days as a captive of Somali pirates. Matt about Cuban baseball, and a person of the day capsule bio of the famous and the obscure. I report on the war in Ukraine, about Chesapeake's ouster as San Francisco DA, about a murder in Portland. Our friend Scott Ross in London is the hero, holding the site together and creating the homepage before I am up at 4:30 every morning, making sure we publish by 6 a.m. A few thousand people read it daily, maybe a tenth of them pay for it, including our smart friend Jack Henneman, who says the site is pretty and fun, but why does it exist? What is he getting there that he doesn't get elsewhere? Paloma's not the Dispatch, or Persuasion, or the Free Press, or any of the new publications that stepped into the breach when news organizations ran to one side or the other, and sometimes down blind alleys. We are, as Nick Denton predicted, a place where people go to hang out and speak their minds and drink cold cocktails and incubate ideas and, in one case, propose marriage. She said yes. December 31st, 2022. Another steak lunch at Keen's. I say to Matt, for no particular reason other than it feels time to make new stuff, how about we shut down the website? Sure, he says, and writes our goodbye. When Nancy Rommelmann and I, in early 2019, began kicking around the ideas that would eventually become this website, we frequently hit on the old Tom Waits question. What are we building here? And as importantly, why? You didn't need a weatherman to know the media winds were blowing in an illiberal direction. The question was what to do about it. One thing we are adamant about in every iteration was, do not become reactionary. Don't let the fact of the walls closing in warp our own priorities to make every new piece of content about the walls rather than the wider world. There were moments during the plotting when things got unreasonably, if hilariously, ambitious. Media tycoons whose names would surprise you, talking scores of millions of dollars in seed money to build an aircraft carrier for the new alternative media entry, that kind of thing. But time and again, we kept coming back to what we would end up calling punk rock Paloma, meaning DIY, no investor expectations, experiments, discover, fail as we go, see where it leads. Where it leads includes a 2022 email from Dallas journalist Sarah Hepola. She screwed up the courage to publish a piece in The Atlantic titled "The Things I'm Afraid to Write about how, in quotes, fear of professional exile kept me from taking on certain topics, end quote. No more. Not after listening to way too many episodes of The Fifth and Paloma and summoning Matt and me, in quotes, along with your fearless colleagues, as she wrote the Atlantic essay. In quotes, yours in the fight, or the struggle, or the revolution, or whatever it is that's happening here, she signs off. I tell her to get up to New York, where we start recording Smoke 'em If You Got 'em, a podcast where we do not think twice about taking on any topic we want, and where tonight we will record episode 210 in a little studio that cost us nothing to build but desire and resolve, and gives back the same. That's how it was and how it is. We're still building new stuff, actually. We're up here plotting something new right now that will carry the Paloma Media insignia. So thanks for listening, guys. Thanks for watching. Let me know what you think in the comments. Let's keep talking.